Welcome to John Martin Talks, where we battle ignorance and apathy daily. The growing ignorance of just how special this experiment we call the United States of America is, and the apathy that we can't or won't do anything and everything to save her. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to talk about all things Biden's speech here in just a moment. I was sitting here kind of waiting for the live feed to start, and I was thinking maybe after, the inspiring speech that Biden gave last night, maybe we should change it up here. Maybe we should have, some come out and say, almost like Johnny Carson, here's John Martin, and they come on in and we fist bump, have a few people in the audience here and fist bump us. And of course, I was thinking about chest bumping, but I know why Biden don't do that, because if a puff of wind blew him off the stairs, you can imagine what a chest bump might do. But anyway, man, I tell you what, last night was something to behold. And I titled it Biden, a scary Robin Hood. So if you're looking above the show where you see our sponsors and the links to our sponsors and the description of our show, you might think it's a misprint, but I meant what I said. He is a scary Robin Hood, because if he gets even half of what he's talking about from last night, we'll get into details in just a moment, he is going to be robbing us blind and robbing us of our future. That's for sure. But before we go any further, I always have to talk about our sponsors. I mean, we actually have people who believe in the capitalist system. The people that sponsor this program, like Big Daddy Unlimited, they actually work for a living. They're the ones, I guess, it's people like Big Daddy and Sherry with an E that are going to be pulling, they know who they are, our principals, going to be pulling that heavy sled for all the freeloaders, man, because it is just unbelievable. But anyway, I digress a bit. We have sponsors. Big Daddy Unlimited is our number one sponsor. And I got a short announcement to make. In the not too distant future, believe it or not, they are working on a brand new studio to house us and their production as well. So within the next few weeks, we will be in a brand new facility. That's what capitalism actually does, by the way, and I thank them. But Big Daddy Unlimited, BDU, is your Second Amendment headquarters, because not only do they offer factory direct pricing on guns and ammunition delivered directly to your door, they defend your Second Amendment on a daily basis, which, man, if you listen to Biden, we're going to have to do some real defending of everything. Life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness is on trial right now, so to speak, and it ain't looking too good, I got to tell you. But Big Daddy Unlimited has over 100,000 other items that are Second Amendment related, from tactical gear to even swag, but survival gear, you name it, they got it at factory direct price. Of course, we have patriotthreads.org, apparel with a purpose. Remember the promo code JMT, the initials of our show, for 20% off at patriotthreads.org, a total fulfillment center. Check them out. You won't be disappointed. Recoil TV, man. Recoil TV produces high quality videos on their YouTube channel. Of course, we have a YouTube channel as well, but they're all about showing you the latest products, Second Amendment issues, those types of things. And we're partnered with them in that we have been granted a channel within the channel. So our show, if you miss it live, one of the places you can watch it archived is at Recoil TV. And of course, we are expanding everywhere we can. Facebook is trying to dial us down as much as possible, as they are with other shows. We appreciate everybody listening and watching. And as one of the public, if you're new to the show, here's one of the public services I do. And last night, believe me, was a big public service, because I watch shows, programs, events like Biden's speech last night so that you don't have to. And we talk about it the next day. Of course, I would actually recommend, I know this is going to be tough for some of y'all, watch Biden's speech as much of it as you could stomach, because it's pretty telling. It lays out the progressive agenda. Before we get into this, let me restate my political goal for those of you new to the show. My only political goal right now is to stop the progressive takeover of this country, to stop it. So I don't care if you're running for the outhouse position, dog catcher, Park Avenue, park bench, or the White House. I'm going to judge you based on that, fairly or not. And I can tell you, if you watch or listen to Biden's speech, it is a blueprint for the progressive takeover of this nation. It is unbelievable. We're going to use a New York Times template here as our talking points. Biden seeks shift in how the nation serves its people. That's putting it mildly. Now, normally we just post a picture, but I got a picture I'm going to post here in a minute, but I feel like I got to give you some kind of warning, before I post this picture, because I got to tell you, it is one of the scariest sights I have ever seen. So be fair warned. I'm going to give you about 3 seconds here. 1, 2, 3. Here it goes. Now, if that right there is not one of the scariest sights you have ever seen, Joe Biden with Kamala Harris and Nancy Pelosi in the background, these are the people that are leading the greatest country that has ever been, the greatest country on earth, the bastion of freedom, the shining light on the hill. They are leading this nation. Those are the people that are leading there by hook or crook or whatever. The fact is, they're in control. And to me, that is scary as it can be. Of course, Biden made a big deal of the fact that it's the first time 2 women have been behind him. But I guarantee it's not the first time 2 women have been behind him, because you sure don't want to get in front of Joe, because you might get sniffed out a little bit, although Nancy, who knows? But it's a scary sight, man. All right, let's get into this article. This is a New York Times piece. We're just using it as a template because, man, it was something else. Biden, man, that scary dude, not inspirational at all. President Biden laid out an ambitious agenda on Wednesday night to rewrite the American Social Compact by vastly expanding family leave, child care, health care, preschool, and college education for millions of people to be financed with increased taxes on the wealthiest earners. So if you listen to that paragraph, and it's a pretty accurate statement. Of course, this guy is a scary Robin Hood, man. He's going to steal from the rich and give to the poor. If you listen to that speech last night, and I think the New York Times summed it up pretty well in this first paragraph, man. Basically, Biden is proposing that the government be in charge of you from cradle to grave. Literally from cradle to grave, you will be in the palm of the federal government. That is, if Biden gets his way, that is what he is going to be. And ambitious. They said an ambitious agenda, right? So I looked up the word ambitious to see how it related to what Biden actually said last night. Having or showing a strong desire and determination to succeed. So is that what he was doing last night? Because I told you before, I don't think Biden even has an agenda. Now, I'm not saying he didn't lay one out last night. He laid out the agenda, and we'll get into more details in a minute, of Obama's third term. He laid out the agenda of the progressive takeover of this country. That's why watching that was so disheartening to me. Biden actually presented it fairly well. He didn't have any major gaffes, although he said a few things that I think were a bit buffoonish, but we'll talk about that in a minute. But the bottom line, and several of the pundits, even people on CNN said, because I was watching all these different ones, like I say, so you don't have to. Essentially, what Biden and the Democrats are doing is they're trying to do, because think about all the changes they want to do. They want to do it while they can, because they realize that if Americans actually wake up, grow a spine, get a pair, that they're going to get these people out, that they're going to take over the Senate and the House, conservatives are, in 2022. And that's what terrifies them. So they're trying to get it done while they can. Of course, Republicans never do that, right? Invoking the legacy of Franklin D. Roosevelt, Mr. Biden unveiled a $1.8 trillion. By the way, adding up everything he talked about last night, if you add it all together, it's over $6 trillion. Over $6 trillion. Invoking the legacy of Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Mr. Biden unveiled a $1.8 trillion social spending plan to accompany previous proposals. Oh, by the way, just to give you perspective, the overall budget is like $3 trillion, and he's proposing to essentially double it, but plan to accompany previous proposals to build roads and bridges, expand other social programs, and combat climate change, representing a fundamental reorientation of the role of government not seen since the days of Lyndon Johnson's Great Society and Roosevelt's New Deal. Fundamental reorientation of the role of government. No, the question that was asked of Ben Franklin a few hundred years back is more relevant today than ever. Because supposedly, when Ben Franklin came out of the Constitutional Convention, the lady asked him, "Well, what did you give us?" And he said, "A republic if you can keep it." I got to tell you, that question today, I don't know if it's even relevant right now. A republic if we can keep it. We may have already lost it. And I don't mean to be gloom and doom by any stretch, because I'm an optimist at heart. Of course, you remember what the pessimist said, it can't get any worse than this. And the optimist said, oh, yes, it can. Chew on that for a minute. But it can get worse, I suppose. But I can tell you right now, and I was going to talk about this at the end, and I will, but let's talk about it right now. Put President Trump aside, because the whole Trump phenomenon. I got a man crush on President Trump. If you watch the show in length time, I do. But put President Trump aside, because who knows what he's going to do? Who knows anything about what's going to happen directly in the future? And he has a right, as I've said many times, to ride off into the sunset if that's what he chooses to do. And I think it's 50-50 at best that he's even going to run. So put President Trump aside just for a moment, not taking anything away. Ladies and gentlemen, we have got to rise up, because the answer to the question the lady asked Benjamin Franklin is an open question right now at best. Because I can tell you, I don't know if it's too late or not, but I know this: if we let these guys continue to hold the House and the Senate for 4 years, whether it's Biden or not, or Kamala Harris or whoever, if it's the Democrats, if the progressives get their wish and take over this country completely, then we are done. I don't know that we can overcome, because a friend of mine texted me last night right after the speech, and Tim Scott's speech, and we'll talk a little bit about his. I'd like to get in depth in it, but I just don't have the time, because I've got to get this Biden information out so you can know where we make a stand. But he was texting me, that maybe after all of this, that we could have a DeSantis Scott ticket or vice versa, and maybe we could set it to be there for 16 years. And I think he's got a point, but I texted back to him, yes, you got a point, if we can survive the Biden years. I'm telling you right now, America is strong. We've always been able to overcome almost anything. But I don't know if we can overcome Biden, because this is what he's doing in his first 100 days. What if he gets 300 or 400 days a second term? He said he's going to run again. Oh, my Lord. Basically, it don't matter if it's Biden or not. If the progressives hold sway, we're going to be in deep trouble, and we already are. But Biden, he told you this: promises made, promises kept. You remember when Biden said this during the campaign trail? Check it out.
I think I have laid out the most detailed plans on the economy and on issues relating to healthcare and the rest of any president in modern history. I mean, it's awful detail. If I'm elected and this passes, I'm going to be good to go down as one of the most progressive presidents in American history.
Yeah, you are. He already is. He did not go down. He already is. I mean, he's already, give him credit if that's what you want to do. He's already there. Let me just ask you, because I know that Trump derangement syndrome is real. And there were clearly, without getting in, we don't talk about the F word here. We say mod, instead of the F word, voter mod. And we don't talk, we talk about rhymes like squeal, stop the squeal. Put all that aside for a minute. Biden clearly got the most ballots, right? He's the president. He is the president. Let me ask you, people out there that voted for Joe Biden because he wasn't Trump, just anti-Trump for whatever reason. I get it. I understand. Is this what you wanted? Is Trump derangement syndrome so strong, and we know it's real, that this is what you want? You want America to fundamentally change this way? I just can't believe. Let's assume, for the sake of conversation, and I hate to even say this, that Biden did get all of those votes and they all counted and everything else. Is that really? I know there are millions of people that want socialism. There's no doubt about that. But the people who are just anti-Trump, is this really what you want? Because if there's that many millions of Americans that want this, we're in deep something. Mr. Biden said we have to prove democracy still works that our government still works and we can deliver for our people. We got to prove that democracy still works. They're not interested in democracy. Right now, ladies and gentlemen, it is all for show. Do you not believe for a second, for a moment, even those of you who love Joe Biden, or at least his policies of the third term of Obama, that if Joe Biden right now today could just sign a paper and everything he talked about would come into play without any votes, Democrat or Republican, don't you know that he would do it? Because he said again last night that no amendment is absolute. So therefore, the Constitution, I told you a couple of days ago, that's the scariest words I've ever heard a president say. And dadgummit if he didn't repeat it. So he obviously believes it, or the people that are pushing the buttons behind the curtain believe it. Because if no amendment is absolute, then guess what that means? The Constitution is not absolute, period. I mean, that is scary, man, when you stop and think about it. It is scary as can be. Anyway, King Biden is very alive and well, I guess. Taken together, the collection of initiatives that Mr. Biden has introduced in his first 100 days in office, this is from the New York Times, suggests a breathtaking scope of change sought by a 78-year-old president who spent a lifetime as a more conventional lawmaker. Well, that's true. I mean, at the beginning, he said, "I'm good to be back," because he's been up there forever. He was a senator, and of course, he presided over the Senate, basically president of the Senate as vice president. He's been in D.C. for 47 years, but now he has all the answers. Let me just tell you, there is no Biden agenda. Biden has already accomplished his entire agenda, really his entire agenda career. He is president. Like it, hate it, love it, whatever. The man is the president right now, God help us, of the United States of America. That was Biden's only agenda from the very beginning. It's it. He's accomplished his agenda. And I've been playing this video. If you hadn't seen it, you need to see it, because to me, this is what Joe Biden is. This is why he is the perfect person to be president for the progressive agenda at this moment, because Biden is this right here. That's Biden right there. Biden is just an empty shell, man. He does whatever they say. They say $6 trillion. He's for it. They say, get the troops out of Afghanistan. By the way, he talked about that last night, and it's all a big lie, because Biden actually, he talks about with time to end the war. He expanded it by several months. We're supposed to be out by May 1st. A couple of days from now. Biden actually expanded the war in Afghanistan. So, man, but that's why you got to battle ignorance and that. There is so much lying out there. Biden talked about it over and over and over. It's just crazy, man. After presenting himself, just so keep in mind, there is no Biden agenda. I believe it's the third term of Obama. I'm just saying. But I know this, whenever they go, Biden just spits out whatever there is. They got to control him. After presenting himself during last year's campaign as a transition candidate to follow the volatile tenure of Donald Trump. Volatile tenure. They always talk about that with President Trump, right? It's only volatile because he shook Washington up. One of the reasons I supported Donald Trump from the very beginning is because I believe, and I still do, that Washington, D.C. needs not a literal, but a bomb, a political bomb, need to be blown up like one of them snowflake things you shake and it just goes everywhere. That's what I wanted done to Washington, D.C. And President Trump did that. He did that. He exposed the deep cesspool that is the swamp there. And I appreciate that. But now it's up to us. It's up to us, the American people, to take the lead now and get woke. Get truly woke to just how deep and complex this swamp is and how much work we have to do. Because the Democrats are always saying, "Oh, we got so much work to do." Well, let me just tell you, we got a lot of work to do, but I'll give you details about it. We got to flush these sons of guns out. We got to get rid of the rhinos. We got to get rid of all the Democrats as much as possible. And I'm talking about voting them out. We got to educate ourselves and others. We got to motivate ourselves and others. We got to activate, which means do something with ourselves and others. We got to make sure that we take back the House and the Senate in 2022. I don't know if we can survive a full 4 years of them controlling. I mean, by God, that picture of Biden flanked by Nancy and Kamala, and then showing down on Chucky Schumer and all the rest of those guys up there. I don't know if we can take it. I mean, even Mitt Romney made some negative comments about Joe Biden, if you can believe that. He actually said, we got to take the credit card away from that teenager. Something to that effect. But the transformation that's talking about, transition candidate to follow the volatile tenure of Mr. Trump. Mr. Biden has, since his inauguration, positioned himself as a transformational president, a transformational president. And he is that indeed. But it's not Biden. It can't be. I tell you all the time, that guy is not the president of the United States. I don't mean he didn't get the most ballots. I'm saying he's not functionally capable, mentally, physically capable of doing the job. He is an empty shell. And I think it's Obama and his bunch that are having a third term. And when they talk about transformational president, remember this young man and what he said about that. Check it out.
We are 5 days away from fundamentally transforming the United States of America.
Woo, 5 days away. Now, he didn't get it totally done in his 8 years, but now he's got the perfect person up there. I was thinking about this last night quite a bit, and this morning when I was writing my notes for this. Biden is the perfect person. I mean, think about it. We're the most racist country that ever existed, according to the Democrats, right? But now they got some old white dude up there that's going around going, I don't even know why I'm here. I mean, he's the perfect one. Because they could say, well, you know, it's mighty whitey, old white dude still in charge. And yet he is proposing these radical ideas that aren't good for people of any color. If you bleed red, white, and blue, if you're a true blue dyed in the wool American and you believe that love it, hate it, you know, the fact that we're imperfect, and that's why they say that in order to form a more perfect union, not that we're perfect, because guess what? Even if we're divinely inspired, which I believe we are, we're still ruled by people at the end of the day, and people come up short of the glory. There's a book out there somewhere, we might have banned it somewhere, that we might ought to read again. It talks a little bit about that. And I would maintain that it doesn't matter what the color of your skin is, if you believe in the freedom and the experiment of America, then you've got to be very disturbed by what's happening. And what gives me hope is that we get the word out. We do, like I said, educate, motivate, activate people. Because if people truly understand what's happening here, if they're for it, then we're screwed. It's just the way it is. But if we can wake up the patriotic spirit of American people, then we can overcome this. I'm not saying it's easy by any stretch, man, but they got the perfect guy in Joe Biden. I'm more convinced than ever that when it comes to pushing the progressive agenda, he's the perfect guy. An old senile, empty shell white dude. I mean, I'm just saying what it is, man. I don't know if it's politically correct or not, and I really don't care. But back to the article, but the secession of costly proposals, this is the New York Times now saying this, think about this, costly proposals amounts to a risky gamble that a country deeply polarized along ideological and cultural lines, ready for a more activist government and the sort of redistribution of wealth long sought by progressives. That's a key word. They've been seeking this for a long time, a long time. The progressives have a very long view. They've been chipping away and whittling away, and they've been winning. I don't care. I mean, you even go back to say, okay, well, you know, we elected Ronald Reagan for 2 terms. Then we elected Donald Trump, and we had Tea Party and all that kind of stuff. And all that's great. It's all great. But all they've done at best, and this is not a criticism of anyone, it's just a fact. All Ronald Reagan's presidency really did was slow it down. Slowed it down. For every great thing that Donald Trump did, if you look at it, all he really did was slow it down. No one has been able to stop the progressive takeover of this country, which is my main political goal. I'm hoping to slow it down a little bit until maybe we can stop it. But we're losing. We've been losing. Tell me this: is America more or less conservative now than it was 50 years ago, or 100 years ago, or 2 weeks ago? I mean, we are losing because these progressives have a long view. See, conservatives are all about life, liberty, and the pursuit, not the guarantee of happiness. So when we rather go spend time with our families, build our businesses, live the good life, enjoy the freedoms of this country, and I don't blame you. You know, tomorrow I'm going fishing as fast as I possibly can. I can tell you that. So I get it. I get it. But make no mistake, these progressives take the long view. Who else do you know that takes a long view? Give you a hint. There you go. Communist China. And Joe Biden was all about them, man. Last night he spent, it seemed like 15 minutes talking about how good buddies and how well he knows and what a great relationship he has with President Xi of China. I mean, he says, you know, we spent hours together. We traveled thousands of miles, which is a lie, by the way. Even CNN debunked that. But, you know, he said, I know this guy, basically. And to me, he's probably right. He's probably right. He knows him well, because remember what he said just about a month or so ago at a town hall meeting Joe Biden did about Xi. I don't think you can see this enough, although every time I watch it, it pisses me off. And I'm sure it's going to do the same thing. Check it out.
You know, Chinese leaders, if you know anything about Chinese history, it has always been the time when China has been victimized by the outer world is when they haven't been unified at home. So the central, vastly overstated, the central principle of Xi Jinping is that there must be a united, tightly controlled China. And he uses his rationale for the things he does based on that. I point out to him, no American president can be sustained as a president if he doesn't reflect the values of the United States. And so the idea, I'm not going to speak out against what he's doing in Hong Kong, what he's doing with the Uyghurs in western mountains of China, and Taiwan trying to end the one China policy by making it forceful. I said, and by the way, he said he gets it. Culturally, there are different norms at each country, and the leaders are expected.
I knew it would get me. Cultural norms. So murdering people in concentration camps, harvesting their organs, putting electrical prods up, raping women with electrical prods, gang raping them, forced sterilizations, all of that is just cultural norms. It's just what China feels like they need to do. Squashing the only two democracies there when you had Hong Kong and Taiwan, which is an actual country, squashing them, it's just cultural norms. Oh, I mean, Lord help us. This is who we have running the show, man. This is what they want. It's crazy. And we're losing. I don't know how else to put it to you. We're losing. I don't think it's too late. If I thought it was too late, I'd be fishing right now. You know what I mean? The screwed out, I'm going fishing. But I don't think it's too late. At least, God, I hope it's not. I'm praying it's not. I feel like I have a responsibility to put this information out there, to fight any way I can. I'm pretty old to pick up a musket. Maybe I could hit somebody over the head with it. But I'm trying to get the political truth out there to you, ladies and gentlemen. We're in trouble. We are in trouble. And I don't care. That's why I battle ignorance and apathy. I'm not trying to blame anyone. I'm just simply sounding the alarm. We're in trouble. And if you are so passive you don't care, then we're going down. If you believe in what Biden is spewing, we're going down. But if you believe in the greatness of America and that we've stood on the shoulders and the sacrifice of great people, then we got to do something. We have, at the bare minimum, we have got to vote these Democrats out. I'm not saying the Republicans have all the answers, but these people are just bum rushing us, man. They're acting like there's, one of them bridal sales going on, and they're just, coming across. It's just unbelievable. And cultural norms. It just irritates me to my soul to hear a president of the United States of America say that there's not much difference. No president could hold their country if they didn't, stand up for the values of America. So are you telling me, and I knew I was going to do this, are you, and I want to speak to Chinese people out there, Chinese Americans and people of Chinese descent. I don't for a minute believe that you're basic at your core believe what the Communist Party of China, you don't believe in what they're doing. I refuse to believe that. So don't think it's not about Asian hate. I'm simply trying to point out that the Communist Party of China is evil. I'm just going to say it. It's evil. They're hell bent on taking over the world. And I can tell you this, Biden ain't going to try to stop them. Now, well, I'm not saying he's evil. I'm just saying he's not going to try to stop them. Mr. Biden's dimmer. I got to move on. Billy Bob, he calms me down every now. If you hadn't met my psychic sidekick, Billy Bob Bass here, he keeps me straight. Sometimes gets me off these tangents. Sometimes he puts me on them. He's got a Twitter handle, by the way. It's at Billy Bob Bass 1, and mine is at John Martin Talks. We're determined to stay in the public square no matter what. Mr. Biden's Democrats have only the barest of majorities in the House and Senate to push through the most sweeping of legislation, and successful or not, he may have framed the terms of the debate for the next election. If there is even a debate, the barest of majorities, they don't care. They're acting as if. That's one thing I do admire about the progressives, the Democrats. They act as if all the time. They don't squander opportunities. They keep pushing. Conservatives, the Republican Party, come on, man. There are people like Mitch McConnell. They spout all this nonsense. As I told you, they're perfectly happy to be in the minority party because that means they can shoot their mouth off, raise a bunch of money, and not have to do squat. And that's the bulk of the establishment of the Republican Party. And Mitch McConnell, he's getting older, and he's tied in with China himself. Look it up yourself. So the barest of majorities, the Democrats are going to work over the next year and a half like you have never seen. It's going to be a flurry, and there's nothing they're not going to try to do because they realize if the American people actually stand up, they cannot win. Our best future will not come from, this is what Biden, this is what Tim Scott, said, and he did a great job. I wish we had more time. Maybe I'll talk a little bit about it tomorrow. Our best future will not come from Washington schemes or socialist dreams, Senator Tim Scott, Republican of South Carolina, said in his party's televised official response. It will come from you, the American people. And he's right about that, ladies and gentlemen. He's right about the potential, is the word I would use, of the American people. But here's the problem. We've gotten fat and happy. We have. Ever since basically the end of World War II and the Greatest Generation, and it just sprung us into the industrial world like never before, we've been in pretty much a long slumber. We've been resting on our laurels, I think, and I'm probably guilty of it myself, because I want to enjoy my life and my family. I'm not guaranteed tomorrow. I'm not promised tomorrow. I understand that. But what about our obligation to the people who made sacrifices in the past, and our obligation to the young people to get them from staring at their phones, unless you're watching the John Martin Talk Show, by the way. But, what is our obligation? I feel a sense of obligation to not throw away the sacrifices of the past and to do like Ronald Reagan challenged us to do, to pass it on to the next generation. That's why I get up at 4:00 every morning to get ready to come in and do this show. That's how much time I spend, not to mention at night and everything else. But we've been in a long slumber, and we got to ask ourselves some questions. Are we, for instance, and I did a show on this a couple of days ago. Check out our podcast, all the ways I just told you. You can also check it out at America's Voice News. They're a great alternative to the mainstream media. They're streaming on Roku, Fire Stick, Apple TV, America's Voice News. Download the free app on your Android or your iPhone. They also have they're on channel 219 Dish Network and the Pluto channel. We don't currently have a live show on there, but we're archived so on their network on a daily basis. Go to their streaming service, whichever one you use. Look up America's Voice News. Click on the shows tab and you can see us there. But I wonder, ladies and gentlemen, are we so addicted to money, to free money, to just manna from heaven or manna from the federal government that we can't wake up? They're trying to put us to sleep with all this money. They're trying to just wash us in this, man. And remember the OJs gave us a little warning about this, man. I can't play the song, but maybe I can sing it a little bit. Bear with me. For the love of money, people will rob their own brother. That's what we're doing. We're robbing our own brothers and sisters and grandchildren. That's what we're doing. Biden and that bunch don't care. They don't care. They just want to make it rain. They want to make it rain so you'll be still up there on the pole. And the pole's going to be up your something or another. So I just ask you, can we? They don't care. I guess the bottom line, they don't care. Do you? Because if you do, then we got to wake up, man. We got to. Check my time. Got plenty of time. Coming in the latter days, I say that till I'm going these rants and then I don't have any time. But, I just got to get it out of me. Can you imagine having all this inside of you and not having a way to get it out? That's why I'm so grateful for like Big Daddy Unlimited and our sponsors, all of our sponsors. Check them out above where you're watching the video. Look at the links, support them, because without them, my wife might have to hear all this all the time, and my little dog, and they'd probably be an old country song. The dog run off, and the wife would hit the heels. I don't know. So it's I do it as much for my own sanity as anything. Coming in the latter days of the coronavirus pandemic, and less than 4 months after a mob of Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, he spent a lot of time on this. He sprinkled in January 6th in different parts of it. Stormed the Capitol through the event was unlike any other presidential speech as Mr. Biden faced half-empty chamber. Well, they had a half-empty chamber because guess what? They must not believe the vaccines work. Every one of those sons of guns up there has been vaccinated, and they're all in there wearing masks and socially distanced, maybe 20 feet apart. They must not believe that the vaccines work. Because apparently if you get vaccinated, you still can't do anything. So I don't know. I'm not saying I'm not anti-vaccine. I'm just saying what the message they're sending is the vaccine don't work. I'm not saying that algorithm, by the way, just so you know. But Biden literally, I got to take a drink. And this is, maybe somebody said, I always talk about I'm not Dean Martin. And one of my listeners said that I probably ought to become Dean Martin if I'm going to survive the next few years. But Biden actually said this. He said that the January 6th, in other words, the insurrection, the attack on the Capitol, the breach of the Capitol, was the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. He actually said that, and people clapped. Really? I mean, really, sir? This happened when the Brits took over D.C. for a period of time. They burned the White House to the ground. I think that's slightly more of an attack on our democracy than, somebody with a buffalo hat running in going, "What's up, man?" And then, of course, what about, because that's one reason I battle ignorance and apathy daily, because you might actually there are probably kids out there that actually believe what Biden just said. But look at this picture. This is Pearl Harbor, man. Pearl Harbor. We had over 3,000 people killed in a sneak attack by the Japanese. And then don't get me started on invasion of D-Day and everything else. My Lord, to actually say that the storming of the Capitol, and I'm not belittling it in any way, shape, or form, but to actually get up there in the Capitol and say that that's the worst attack since the Civil War is nonsense, man. And I'm going to tell you, and the Civil War, by the way, just so you, and maybe some people may think this is controversial, it's just factual. The Civil War wasn't about protecting democracy in any way, shape, or form. Because if it was, they would have let the South secede, right? Because the South was basically exercising, at the time, their constitutional right, because the Constitution is an agreement among individual states. There was no United States of America when they agreed to the Constitution, right? So there is a secession deal in the Constitution. Now, I'm not condoning slavery in any way, shape, or form, but the truth is the truth. It had zero to do with protecting democracy. It was about preserving the nation and the power of it. And it was about freeing the slaves from the Democrat slave owners, by the way, and Biden's right there. And I'm telling you right now, if Biden, and I'm not comparing economic slavery and all to what happened to people actually whipped in chains, okay? So just so you know, but there are all kinds of slavery. Some of them are real obvious and some of them are insidious. And that's what we're suffering from right now. Remember when Biden said this when he was vice president of the United States? Check it out.
Look at what they value and look at their budget and what they're proposing. Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
He's talking to a predominantly black audience right there, telling about putting them back in chains. If Biden and his bunch, if the people that are going blowing up his empty shell of whatever, get their way, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be subjects of the realm. We are going to lose everything our ancestors have fought for. Everything patriots are still fighting for is going to be gone in the blink of an eye, because we're going to be subjects of the realm. That's what they want us to be. That's what they want you to be. That's what they want, for instance, the Democratic Party that is running the show right now. Let's just face it, they are. They want black Americans, for instance, to be subjects of their realm. They want Americans to be so dependent on the federal government that we won't even know what hit us. We won't even be able to see. We'll be, like all wearing gray trench coats and walking like that. And the best of us will be in the city and the hill, and the rest of us will be Hunger Games. That's what they want. They want you to be totally dependent on the federal government from cradle to grave, period. That's what they want. It's unbelievable. It just reminded me something too, real quick. Like, this is not totally relevant to this, but it is something I saw on Facebook that was actually pretty interesting. A person said on Facebook that if bacteria is a sign of life on Mars, why isn't a heartbeat a sign of that on Earth? And I thought was interesting. You let that sit in there for a minute, simmer. Mr. Biden struck an optimistic note. Really? I don't know if I agree with that. Note with the fading of the pandemic that has killed more than 573,000 people in this country, hailing the progress in vaccinating most American adults and easing of public health restrictions that have so warped everyday life for more than a year. You could debate all that, but who was that brought to you by? Who was that brought to you by? By his old buddy Xing, Pingaling, whatever. Yeah, the coronavirus was brought to you by the Chinese Communist Party. I'm not blaming all Chinese people, but I am blaming the Chinese Communist Party. I've only got a couple minutes left, but I'm going to keep trying to go as far as I can. Now, according to the New York Times, now after just 100 days, this is what Biden said. I can report to the nation America is on the move again. Well, which way is it moving? Being on the move is not always good. You could be moving down, downhill. If you're coasting, you're going downhill. They're not even coast. They're taking a coast because see what the problem is, ladies and gentlemen. We've been in this slumber and we've been coasting for a while. And the only way you can coast is go downhill, right? So the Democrats have jumped on that bicycle that was already coasting, and now they pedaling, man. They pedaling. They're getting faster and faster and faster. And it's only going to get faster as they understand that the American people might get awake. I mean, it's really up to us, he said. Turning peril, this is what Biden said, turning peril into possibility. Crisis into opportunity. Boy, he can lay on the political nonsense. None of this actually says anything, right? Setbacks into strength. We all know life can knock us down, but in America, we never, ever, ever stay down. You know what I was thinking about while he was saying all this platitudes? I was thinking about this meme right here about socialism. You can vote your way into it, and apparently we have, but you always got to fight your way out of it. Ask Venezuela about that. That's what I was thinking about when he was talking. Some of us are sicker than others. I realize maybe I'm alone. Maybe I'm the only one that thinks this. Maybe I'm the only one that's standing up saying that the emperor has no clothes. I don't know. Let me know. Chime in on Facebook or wherever you're listening to and let me know. Because sometimes I feel like I'm the only one. Now, I know I'm not. I got a lot of very loyal listeners. I really greatly appreciate it more than I can ever say. Do me a favor, spread the word far and wide. People are always telling me how much they appreciate what I'm doing, and I am grateful for that. But if you're not sharing the show, if you're not giving a homework assignment to your kids, your grandchildren to watch the show, then you're not doing enough, quite frankly. And I need you to help me. Help me. That's what I'm asking. Mr. Biden called for legislation to improve polling across the United States and to restrict access to high powered firearms. You know, I'm sorry, to improve policing across the United States. Improve policing. That's what he said. He actually advocated, though, for the opposite of that, because he said, and this is where you got to get educated, he said he challenged the Senate to pass the House version of the Police Reform Act. Well, the House version of the Police Reform Act would obliterate the police force in America because of implied immunity or qualified immunity, period. It's basically the same thing. What basically means that if you do that, and I'm giving you the snapshot of it, it means that police officers would be liable for everything they do. They'd be sued on a round-the-clock basis, and no police officer, except the ones you absolutely don't want, would ever be there. So if that House bill actually became law, it would not only, there'd be no police department. I guess the good news is you wouldn't have to worry about defunding the police, because there wouldn't be any police department to defund. And I love that line right there, that meme up there, because I'm telling you now, if we lose our thin blue line, and it's getting thinner by the moment, then we're going to be in a special kind of hell. There ain't no doubt about that. But then he talked about the Second Amendment, and I keep coming back to this because he mentioned about Bambi or a deer wearing a Kevlar vest and how you don't need this or that. And he spouted out all kind of nonsense. He even said that, you know, like the ban on assault weapons stops crime, which there really wasn't assault weapons they banned anyway. That's another, but there's no statistics that show that whatsoever. And he he letting you know that he doesn't know squat about the Second Amendment when he talks about deer hunting. Because I hate to tell you, well, let's just play this video. It's echoes of something that Cuomo said that always pisses me off. Check it out.
Shame the legislature into action with a passionate speech on gun violence.
And I say to you, forget the extremists. It's simple. No one hunts with an assault rifle. No one needs 10 bullets to kill a deer.
The governor
we're pretty much out of time, but basically, and I could go on about this, maybe we'll touch some more on it tomorrow. But the Second Amendment, we'll end with this, just so if you don't get anything outside the show, get this. The Second Amendment has what to do with deer hunting? Nothing. The Second Amendment is to protect you from the tyranny of federal government and to give you what I believe is the God-given right, a human right, to defend yourself, your family, and your property, period. We're going to keep staying on top of this. I hope you've enjoyed the show as much as I've enjoyed bringing it to you. Please go directly to all our social media sites, like them and share them with others. Look at our sponsors and all that. Please help us out. Spread the show far and wide. I'll pray for your family. You pray for mine. God, we better pray for this nation because she's up against it right now. But above all else, like I say each and every day, from my heart, from my family to yours, have a blessed day. Thank you.